All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And good morning, good morning, good morning, and good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, and good evening, good evening, good evening, if that is your jam. Mark Thompson Show. I am Mark. Kim will be along, as will Albert. It's going to be a great show. I want you to feel good about that. It's a holiday, I know. And
morning.
The truth is that we worked through the holidays, my friends. Yeah.
Kim, how are you?
This was a holiday that Joe Biden gave America. So all of you Biden haters, you can at least thank Joe Biden for Juneteenth being a national holiday. And I think there are a couple of ways you can look at Juneteenth. I'll get to it in a second. I won't spend a lot of time on it just because I think there's other stuff to do today. But I do want to mention that Courtney will be along, always stalwart in her handling of responsibilities for Mark's Murder Mystery Monday. She will be along live. I'm at KFI today, so this little open is recorded. So great to have you here, and we so appreciate all the ways that you hang with us and support us day in and day out. It means a lot. So let's rock this thing. You know, the most American thing of all on Juneteenth is a mass shooting. Yeah, that is the United States of guns, and on a national holiday. I'm hoping this is the only one to this hour, but at least 23 people injured, one fatally, in suburban Chicago at a Juneteenth celebration. It happened Sunday, about 12:30 in the morning in the parking lot of a strip mall, 23 miles west of Chicago. Victims taken to multiple hospitals, etc. You can look at Juneteenth, I think, and you can be celebratory. Certainly, you know, look, if you can be celebratory on Memorial Day, you can sure as hell be celebratory on Juneteenth. I mean, I still can't get my head to how we have the most solemn of holidays, Memorial Day, to memorialize our war dead. And somehow it becomes sale on barbecues, sale on couches, you know what I mean? Layaway pricing for Memorial Day. I think that's wild. But we're there, and we are a nation that doesn't give up on commercial opportunity, shall we say it that way. Juneteenth hasn't yet gotten to that place, but you can certainly see Juneteenth as a celebratory day, right? A day when you saw an announcement, wasn't it in Galveston, Texas, that slaves were freed, you know, that it's a, as I say, it was celebrated, I think, and commemorated in different ways around the country for a long time, but it has just now become a national holiday. The other way you can look at Juneteenth is the fact that Black Americans in particular, but I'd suggest that minorities across the board, Native peoples, people of color in other ways, do have to swim upstream against a pretty strong current still, you know. But if you live in the celebration of Juneteenth, which I think is a good, healthy place to be, then you've seen the progress that we've made. And then you, of course, see the progress still ahead, but you see the progress that can continue to be made. So I think that's a fair way to look at it. So
The Mark Thompson Show.
And now I would just mention a couple of other things that are going on. You know, the special counsel who is stacking up indictments against Donald Trump like cordwood, Jack Smith. As you know, you're not aware, I'll just mention the fact that there is every indication that there will be additional charges filed against Donald Trump in the documents case, likely involving the Bedminster Club. That's as a result of seeing things in the filings in Miami. They reference additional investigations, additional witnesses, etc. Anyway, Jack Smith, that special counsel, he has his own merch line now. Online marketplace Etsy currently offers more than 50 Smith-themed products. Among the more colorful offerings are a Mr. Smith Goes to Washington t-shirt. Somebody's going to get jacked up mugs are also available. And a Jack Smith fan club stainless steel water bottle. As you know, I am here in what I think is the mecca of merch. The tote bag, the Mark Thompson Show hoodie, our own merch is my point. But if you go Jack Smith merch, it is out there for you. So use it in good health. But that's what's happening there. Now,
The Mark Thompson Show.
I also have a pretty, I like capers and I like anything that involves a caper, heist, certainly. But even some sophisticated, diamond heist thing or swap or high-end art. You see this in the art community. And so it was with great excitement that I saw a story related to a huge high-end ripoff scheme. It feels Ponzi-ish to me. And there's a chance to do it for you now and present it in Law and Disorder.
In the criminal justice system, the people,
pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care,
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law. You're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
Their stories, and I'll tell you that this particular story takes place in New York City at a high-end wine club. And you don't expect the world of wine to necessarily be in this world of ripoff, but indeed, it's happened. This wine fraud has taken place at one of the top wine clubs in New York City. And there, people make arrangements for high-end wine to be delivered to them. They pay in advance for this, which right away typically shouldn't be a problem. But in this particular instance, there's a swindle going on. And the swindle is this. You pay us for your high-end wine to be delivered, and then apparently the wine is resold, not delivered to you, but resold to other people. Why does this happen? And how has the FBI gotten involved? The FBI's gotten involved because they did this over state lines. And whenever that happens, I guess, it's a federal situation. So as more and more people didn't get their wine, and more people were waiting for their wine, more and more people complained. And now this high-end place called Sherry Lehman, that's the name of the place, it's been around since the early 1900s. They are under a federal criminal investigation. And the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan has raided their offices. They have closed. Initially, they said the reason people weren't getting their wine was because of COVID. Then they said, essentially your wine's in the mail, we've got your wine in your storage container. So they ran these storage containers for these high-end wines, as well as running the wine distribution place. But when you scratch the surface, you see that wines weren't their only problem. Their problem was they were way behind in their rent to the tune of millions of dollars. They were about to be evicted from that high-end store in Manhattan, a store that's been closed since March, as I say, because they haven't paid the rent. And they were delinquent in $2.7 million in unpaid sales tax. And then they owe lenders millions of dollars more. So when you put that all together,
if you get it in order, you get extra points.
They are in big trouble. And so this is essentially a Ponzi scheme, right? If you put your money in early and you got your wine, you're good. If you put your money in late, you didn't get your wine, and you're probably not going to get your money back. And that is the first of what I think is
The Mark Thompson Show.
the high-end lawlessness. I've talked to you about it before, that whole thing where the art community, the wine community, it's so high-end, it's so rarefied, it is ripe for the taking, too, because everybody wants to participate. And so on the wine thing, I told you about that documentary called Sour Grapes. Check it out. It's really terrific. And I think you'd be surprised at what the rarefied crew that's at the top of the wine world falls for. So, the woman who died and was declared dead, banged on the coffin during the wake. Bella Montoya, 76 years old. Well, she died again. And this time, they say she's really dead. So that's your update on
The Mark Thompson Show.
Also over the weekend, a new Rubik's Cube record. A Southern California kid smashes the Rubik's Cube world record. What do you think the world record was for the Rubik's Cube? How fast did the world record holder unsort or sort out or unpuzzle or undo the Rubik's Cube puzzle? What, you want to figure out what was the record, or you want to figure out what is the record? The record has held for quite some time. This kid who just broke the record is pretty amazing. Let's guess what the new record is. No, what do you want to do? You want the previous record? Okay, previous record, sorry. Is that what it sounded that way to you? Okay. The previous record for the Rubik's Cube. What are the guesses? You can guess in the chat, and you will see a few of them on the screen now. The answer is the previous record, before Max Park broke the record. The previous record, 3.47 seconds, everybody. That was the high water mark. That was Yu Shengdu of China setting that record more than 4 years ago, according to the Guinness World Records book and the World Cube Association, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, yeah. Now, this Southern California resident named Max Park spent about 10 seconds studying the jumbled Rubik's Cube in front of him. This all happened at the Pride in Long Beach World Cube Association competition. Cracking those scrambled colored cubes took just, anybody? 3.13 seconds.
What?
I know, that is really great. 3.13 seconds. With a deep breath and steady hands, they say, the 21-year-old solved the colorful mind game with 43 quintillion possible combinations, aligning each side perfectly by color. In a video that captured the moment, which we shall share with you at a future moment, Park slams his hands down to stop the clock, claps, and yells, "Yes!" knowing that he had just broke the world record. Fastest solve of a single Rubik's Cube. Again, he did it in 3.13 seconds. Such good stuff. I'm congratulations, Max Park.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I must leave you, but I leave you, let me finish. I leave you in the capable hands of Kim McAllister.
Can you let him finish, sir?
Kim McAllister and Albert, both of whom have crafted a great show.
Albert, thank you.
And Kim, don't forget Kim.
Kim, how are you?
The Mark's Murder Mystery Monday segment will run live. That will be in just a few minutes. And Kim will be here with the magic that only Kim can bring to this situation. Smash the like button in advance.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
We know that you are part of our community. Generally, those of you who have come over from TYT and from KFI Radio and from other places that you may have just heard about it, may have just been served the show. This is sort of a hybrid radio show, television thing. We brought our entire radio show over here. We're news-centric, and on this holiday, we digress a bit at times, but we so appreciate you being here. I mean, we're on our way to what we need. I think we're really close. All we need is 11,000.
I just want to find 11,780.
I think we may be there now. So our first full live day is tomorrow, and I think we will be there. And I'm counting on Kim to somehow, just bring the celebration. You know what I mean? That's what I hope for from Kim. So smash the like button like a boss. Let's have a moment to welcome Kim. And for me to find this graphic that I'm looking for. Here it is. All right, Kim, it's your world, baby.
The Mark Thompson Show.
What could this be? Let's look. I'm so excited. It's the Mark Thompson Show.
Is CinemaScope.
Feel it in your soul. The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, Albert, here we go. It's time to rock this show. What do you think?
Yeah, let's get it started. This is our last day.
It is our last day
before Mark gets back, and we'll kind of be back to normal.
Mark Thompson will be back tomorrow, and so everybody who's wishing for him, your wish is almost granted. One more day of some recorded bits in between everything else. But I wanted to start with this story, Albert, about DeSantis potentially being the devil. Did you see this story? Yeah. It's out of MSNBC, and it was a story. It's kind of funny. I think, do we have video to roll? They're talking about all the things DeSantis has done that makes him more Judas-like than Jesus-like. The video is pretty funny. It's MSNBC's Mehdi Hassan. Will we get busted if we show the video, Albert? I don't know.
We might, but let me look at it first.
All right.
Before,
So he's basically, DeSantis, been trying to win over the evangelical vote, right? He went on the Christian Broadcasting Network last week talking about how he would have loved to been among the original disciples of Jesus Christ. He said that. He said, I would have loved to have been with them, and this would have been great. Well, Mehdi Hassan called it sheer arrogance. He said, imagine for a second if alongside Peter and John, you got Ron DeSantis, and how that might have gone. And I love the pointing out of hypocrisy. He said, a Ron who every time Jesus helped the poor and used loaves of bread and fish to feed the hungry, Ron was like, you're too woke, Jesus. Let's listen to the video.
Could I have been there with Jesus's disciples? I mean, these are people who, Peter's just fishing one day, and all of a sudden, this guy comes up to him, catches all the fish and says, you're going to be fisher. I want you to be a fisher of men. Come with me. And so these guys all went out and they dedicated their life to spreading the gospel. I look back at that and would love to have been able to be there with them.
Now, Eamon, put aside the sheer arrogance of a Republican politician in 2023 suggesting he could be a disciple of the Lord. But just imagine for a second if alongside Peter, John, James, and co, there had been a Ron who every time Jesus helped the poor and used loaves of bread and fish to feed the hungry, Ron was like, "You're too woke, Jesus. You're too woke. Let them pull themselves up by their own bootstraps." Every time Jesus said, I don't know, we should embrace refugees and migrants, Ron was like, "Stop all the wokeness, Jesus. Send them to Martha's Vineyard. The Holy Land is where woke goes to die." I mean, Eamon, the truth is that the Jesus of the Gospels and his disciples were way too left-wing for Ronald DeSantis.
I mean, look, let's be clear here for a second. If there is an altar of a leader that Ron DeSantis worships at, it is that of his cult leader, Donald Trump, and no one else. I mean, DeSantis is such a Trump fanboy. He literally, and because of his fathers, they used his children and billed himself as a Trump-like figure when he was running for governor. Watch this.
Everyone knows my husband, Ron DeSantis, is endorsed by President Trump, but he's also an amazing dad. Ron loves playing with the kids.
You want to
build the wall?
Yeah, let's go. Let's back out of it. Yeah, it was just the hypocrisy there about DeSantis somehow saying he would love to be a disciple of Jesus while he's sending busloads of migrants to places around the country, people that have nothing, that came here with nothing, that are getting dumped at these places, and they were promised things they're not getting. It's a very hypocritical thing. Yeah. I wonder what your thoughts are on it. And I hope you can see the hypocrisy that I'm seeing. Ricky O'Bear writing, religion destroys. Calvin, Jesus helped Ron build the wall. Right. And lots of idiots, writes Vicky, will believe it about this disciple of Jesus things. And what is it about us turning politicians into some type of religious icon? We saw that with Donald Trump. I don't know, remember, Albert, the video of people saying, he's like Jesus. He's like the second coming. He's here to save us. What is it about us putting this type of religious importance on political figures? It's too much.
It just seems like it's the recipe now just for the right wing side, right? So it's like, I think it's just part of running in that side of politics.
Maybe he thinks to steal Trump's followers or attract his base, he has to somehow, become some type of Jesus-like figure. Lori says if he was a disciple, he'd be washing immigrants' feet, not bussing them away. That's exactly right. Nick talking about because they all suffer from megalomania. Yeah. Did this start before Trump? Someone just wrote that it started before Trump. Maybe I kind of remember it with Trump, but perhaps it did start before Trump and I just wasn't paying attention. I don't know. Religion
it was one of
preposterous.
Trump's main points. It was like the wall, it was the religion, and it was like, during that time he was just hitting all those main points at every little town he was going to.
Yeah, I just remember the people who started calling him Jesus or who said he was like Jesus, and now all of a sudden, politicians are coming out and comparing themselves to Jesus. I don't know. DeSantis, what a putz. I thought that was interesting to note what he said to the Christian Broadcasting Network, and I'm glad MSNBC called him out for it. So Mark mentioned Juneteenth. That, of course, is the day that enslaved people in Texas finally learned that they were free. And I kind of have been thinking about whether today is a day, are we supposed to celebrate? Are we supposed to have solemn remembrance? Or are we supposed to do both? Or is there no supposed to here yet? I've seen celebrations around my area. There's a parade, parties, barbecues, musical events in Sonoma County and around the Bay Area. But I wanted to tell you a story about, Well, I wanted to tell you a story that my daughter, who just got home from her 8th grade trip to Washington, D.C., came home and told me last night as we were shifting through pictures. And I don't know if you can scramble, Albert, and maybe get a picture up of the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial in Washington, D.C. But it's a memorial where, and you may have seen it before, where he's emerging from stone. It's beautiful. And my daughter's group had this African American tour guide who took them all around the different sites, and his name was Kirk. And she was telling me that he said something that I thought might be nice to share with you on this Juneteenth. He said that Martin Luther King Jr. should not be half in stone and half emerging from stone, that he should be free of the stone. But because he is still in stone, there's an amazing picture of it. Because he's still half in the stone, that means, he said, he told these kids, we still have work to do. He said it signifies that if you do the work and if your grandkids do the work, that someday he will break free of that stone. And I thought that was a beautiful thing to tell the kids. A beautiful way to let them know that we're not done, that they weren't just standing there looking at the memorial and how artistic it is and how cool it is that he's emerging from the stone, that you can see, that what the artist was trying to do, but that story he told them, or the thought that he gave them as they stood there and looked at this memorial, made them think about their future and what they could do. I love that. Hugely valuable trip. If you ever have an 8th grade Washington, D.C. trip, I recommend it. I wasn't sure if it was just going to be kids goofing off at a hotel, but they really learned a lot. So I wanted to share that. I also was reading, thank you for the picture, Albert, a story out of CNN, and it was titled 3 Myths About Slavery. And so I thought maybe we could talk about that as well on this Juneteenth. One of the myths that hit me the most was how long it took to end slavery. And I know that today is the day that we're talking about what happened in Texas, where it took, was it 2 years in order for the enslaved people in Texas to finally get the word that they had been freed. But the CNN article talks about it taking time because people often that tried to walk away with their freedom were tracked down and beaten. In other states, they were targeted. In some cases, they were arrested and forced to work as part of convict leasing programs in the justice system. So you think about the Emancipation Proclamation and what happened there. And for some reason you think, oh, okay, well, the war was won, the people were freed, but that's not the case. And so when you read about everything that happened, you realize that it took a long time. It wasn't a one-day kind of deal, like now we're enslaved and the next day we're free, despite laws being passed and wars being won. The quote out of the article is, the lesson from history: slavery didn't end with the Emancipation Proclamation. Black people still had to literally fight for their freedom long afterward. And then they offered this quote from historian W. Caleb McDaniel. He said, slavery did not end cleanly or on a single day. It ended through a violent, uneven process. And I don't think we talk about that enough. We look back in history and we say, oh, well, one day we had slaves and then one day we did not have slaves. But the struggle that took to get free, to let it be a kind of societal thing that people were free. I mean, I guess there was a shift that had to happen, a fight that had to happen. Something I don't think about a lot, but this article was really interesting. Again, that's in CNN, and it's called the 3 Myths About Slavery. The other ones had to do with the lasting effects on religion and culture that enslaved people brought to America. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Another story, and this goes back to politics a bit, is that there's this lawmaker that was very, very pro-Trump that is now kind of backpedaling a little bit. This is Representative Mike Turner of Ohio, and he was all Trump all the time, right? He's the chair of the House Intelligence Committee. He was on CNN talking to Jake Tapper, and he said he can no longer defend former President Donald Trump's behavior as it's described in the federal charges made against him. Oh, somebody took time to finally read the charges. He says prosecutors will have to prove all of this if he truly broke the law. He said, this is the quote from Turner, with respect to this litigation, it's going to go forward, and I'm certainly not going to defend the behavior listed in that complaint, but they're going to have to prove it. It's a legal process that's going to have to go forward, said Turner, who has repeatedly defended Trump over the last year. So I thought that was interesting. And, you see slowly the kind of backing away, not the rabid Trump supporters, but slowly you see people that, may have really taken a look at the indictment, and even they are like, okay, maybe I don't want to keep defending him. Maybe I should quiet down just a little bit. And that seems like we're seeing from Representative Turner. Let's do a little bit of news, and then we get to Mark's Murder Mystery Monday.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show. Let's talk about China, shall we? The U.S. and China are working to stabilize their relationship. That is what Secretary of State Antony Blinken told reporters after he met with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing. China, though, rejected a U.S. offer to set up a direct military line of communication between the U.S. and China, which was a priority goal for the Biden administration. So interesting that he went and discussed, but didn't quite achieve all the objectives that he was hoping to achieve. Let's talk a little bit about Juneteenth. We mentioned it, but many Americans are celebrating it today. Juneteenth, of course, marking the day in 1865 when the country's last enslaved people in Galveston, Texas, were finally informed that they had been freed 2 years after President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. And this is the third year since the holiday was given federal status by President Biden in 2021. As a submarine used to take tourists to view the wreck of the Titanic, it's now missing in the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah, there's a search and rescue mission underway. Unclear how many people were aboard that sub, when it went missing, or what's happening with it. But again, search and rescue mission underway. Kind of creepy. Soldiers who passed the old U.S. Navy, well, soldiers, I should say sailors, who passed the old U.S. Navy body fat test may fail the new one. A lead researcher on the Army's body consumption study said so to reporters, many criticizing the old tape test that measured, they say men, or I should say service people, around the neck and the abdomen, and women around the neck, waist, and hips as outdated and inaccurate. So we'll see if there's a whole new crew of people who won't be passing. Of course, President Biden is coming back to California this afternoon. He will spend 3 days in the Bay Area raising money for his re-election campaign, also mixing a little business into the whole trip. His first stop to reveal a $600 million plan to help coastal communities around the country fight climate change. $600 million. He'll give a speech on that and on protecting the environment. The president was last here in January to survey the storm damage. You know who else is coming to California? Jesus. Oh, wait a minute. That's Ron DeSantis, a GOP presidential candidate, hitting the campaign trail in Sacramento today. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, yes, is coming to Sacramento for a fundraiser 2 weeks after he admitted to flying 36 migrants into the city from the border in Texas. The Attorney General has said the state's Department of Justice is deciding whether to take criminal or civil action against DeSantis. No word if he will be questioned during his visit to California and to Sacramento, but it might be a perfect time. I don't know. Yeah, ever since we saw the story about those fishermen that tried to win a fishing contest by putting weights in the fish, I've kind of been paying closer attention to fishing news. And this is one out of North Carolina where a fishing crew is being denied a $3.5 million tournament prize after the massive marlin they reeled in was disqualified. No, not
There's never
for
been
weight.
anything like this.
Officials at the Big Rock Blue Marlin tournament say the 619-pound fish was disallowed because it appeared to have been mutilated by sharks. Another crew ended up winning the tournament by landing a 484-pound blue marlin. So the 619-pounder disqualified because of shark damage. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
What he's got going here is a situation.
It's unbelievably offensive.
Put up your pants, my man. Pull up those pants.
Ralph Nader just sent me a book. Did he send you one too?
I offer this sincere apology to you today.
Everything is going extremely well.
Call me a liar. Know what you call me?
You, sir, are a liar.
You are a cover-up artist, and you are a liar.
Liar, liar, your pants are on fire!
Google told me.
Can you let him finish, sir?
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
No.
I'm going to tell you what I think.
What are the porn stars doing?
Do you have a secret talent?
Doesn't anybody better weed?
100% effective. How about that?
Say what?
And this is their new host.
There is no defense for my conduct.
I misspoke. I stand corrected.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Time's up, mother effers.
And it is time for Mark's Murder Mystery Monday. You know her as the lover of all things true crime. You also know her as Mark Thompson's better half. She is Courtney, everybody. Yay!
Hi.
Hi. How you doing? Yeah, thank you for being here. You are taking us on a way, way, way back time machine to something that happened many moons ago.
Yes, when Mark was born. He's going to kill me. Yes, we're going to ancient times.
Wait, we gotta hit the open first before we get started.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's my bad. I'm sorry. Let's do it.
Welcome to Mark's
Red Rum.
Murder
Red Rum.
Mystery
Red Rum.
Monday.
It's not the same without the scream, Courtney. We just have to.
I know.
Yeah.
I was actually that was a really good open prior to this segment's open. That sort of buffer music, that was really great. It was so many fun drops. I mean, I'm really carrying Mark's mom, and yeah, it's really great. I should listen to the show, really.
Yeah, a little more often sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. Mark will be back tomorrow. It's a perfect time to join in.
Exactly.
We're actually grateful to have you here.
Thanks.
Are you taking us to ancient Rome? What's going on, Courtney?
So we, Mark is not the biggest fan of murder per se. I'm not necessarily a fan of murder. I'm more a fan of true crime. But so we've been exploring other stories to talk about that are more focused on criminal activity, perhaps, than like murders per se. And so I was listening to a podcast called Criminalia, and I heard this story and I just thought it was so interesting. And so we're going to talk about Herostratus today. And I think some of the audience might know Herostratus because it's a fairly referenced sort of contemporary subplot or character in a lot of movies and books and plays, often serving as like a character, as I mentioned, or even like a subplot. And so when I saw this story, I thought, oh, this is great. We have to talk about this. So Herostratus was a man who lived in ancient Greece during the 3rd century. He actually died in 356 BC, but he burned down a very famous temple in an attempt to create infamy or be notorious and have his name live on well past his death. And so he devised this plan to burn down this temple in an effort to do that. And so
I'm just going to say for a second, it looks like he was succeeded in that effort because here we are still talking about this guy.
I know, right? I mean, just as he planned, his name lives on in podcasts all over the world 3,000 years later.
It's a wild idea, but it just might work.
It's funny. It's interesting.
It's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Exactly. To that point, he does live on, and he sort of sidestepped a law that was put into place where people couldn't mention his name, and I'll get to that.
Oh.
But in fact, his name is more widely referenced, even beyond the judges who gave him not only the death penalty, but this sentence in and by which nobody could mention his name publicly or even privately as an effort to not give him the notoriety and the infamy that he was looking for in burning down this temple. So Herostratus devises a plan to burn down the temple of Artemis in Ephesus. Now, if I mispronounce anything, I apologize up front. And so he does this. He does this on July 21st, year is 356 BC. It's actually the same night that Alexander the Great was born. And many of the ancient Grecians thought that Artemis was distracted with the birth of Alexander the Great and therefore couldn't defend her temple. And the temple had been on land that had been used since the Bronze Age, which is like 3300 BC to 1200 BC. And the first temple of Artemis was actually destroyed during a flood in the 7th century BC. And so they erected the second temple. And this is the one that Herostratus burned down. It's said that it took 100 years to build this temple, and it was larger than a football field. But part of the temple was marble, and then another part of the temple was wood. And so Herostratus goes and he burns down the wood portion of this temple, and effectively the temple burns to the ground. He actually stays at the temple. So when they come to react to the fire, he's there and he's proclaiming, I did this and I did this so that my name will live on in infamy and I will be notorious far beyond my death. And so then they say to him, bad idea, we're arresting you. And he's not only tortured, but he's sentenced to death. And the entire time he's admitting to doing it. And he's admitting to the reasons why he did it. And so he ends up, being, he's ultimately killed for what he did in burning down this temple. The temple was actually recognized as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. So it really was a very well-known temple for its time. And it lives on as that. Although there's a picture in here where you can see, these are, if you're watching, these are illustrations of what the temple might have looked like. Yeah. But the contemporary experience in going to where the temple is it leaves a lot to be desired. It's like a single pillar and then a smaller pillar as well there. It's right there. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. But as you're standing there looking at the ruins, you get to hear this really interesting crime story, right?
Yeah.
That's not fake. That's real.
Exactly. It's fun. There's interesting, like there was it's now in modern day Turkey. It's in the western part of modern day Turkey. And there's a gentleman that went to visit it, and he was writing in his blog, he was so angry that he had gone to see the Temple of Artemis, and like, this is all that was standing. And I think that he wasn't realizing this massive story behind the history of like why these ruins are the way that they are, which is in fact the Herostratus story.
I wonder if he was the first person to achieve the notoriety for committing a crime to achieve notoriety. Because now we have people all the time, they open fire because they want their name remembered, or whatever ridiculous reason.
Yeah.
But I wonder if he was the first to just burn something down just because he wanted to be remembered for that. And what a thing to want to be remembered for, right?
I know, right? I mean, yeah, it seemed poorly conceived from the beginning, this plot. But I don't think he was. There, in his sentencing, they created something called the Damnatio Memoriae. And I think it actually predated him, but it was basically a law forbidding anyone to mention his name orally or in writing. And anybody that was living in Ephesus wouldn't do that. They did not mention him. They would not speak of him. But there were other people in ancient Greece who did not live in that area who talked about and wrote about him. Mm-hmm. And so, Herostratus's name lives on because of some of the ancient Grecian historians that were talking about what was happening during that time. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I think that there was something in place where people that were doing horrible crimes, Nero, I think, was actually one of the first people to be given this in an effort to not give them that notoriety that they were looking for. And so it reminded me too of like contemporary culture, not in as horrific a way, but like the whole TikTok generation, like people that are doing things, even if they're small crimes or things that might hurt themselves or others, to get that content on, to find followers. It's a really interesting thing that existed 3,000 years ago, and then obviously today in sort of like the contemporary use of technology. So
people want to make their mark. They want to be remembered, right? But what do you want to be remembered for? And I guess if you have no skills to contribute to humanity or to the world, if you have no scientific breakthroughs or inventions or art or something of note, then you look for, well, what bad thing could I do? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. I think that, sometimes we're compelled by certain things, whether it's, a need for something or an interest in something. And so perhaps that compulsion or that interest, gets us into situations that aren't necessarily always good or beneficial. And certainly that is the case here. But it certainly reminded me of sort of like also just contemporary serial killers and some of the things that we talk about on the show, wherein people are doing things, again, to create that notoriety. It's called herostratic fame. And so sometimes you'll hear that referenced. And that is, of course, doing a criminal act to achieve notoriety. But a lot of contemporary authors as well have talked about Herostratus. Chaucer, Herman Melville, Gore Vidal mentions it's the story within one of his novels, Two Sisters. Also, in the 2018 film Assassination Nation, there's actually a hacker whose handle is Aerostratus, like sort of misspelled. And in that plot line, the hacker leaks all of this town's personal information for the LOLs, and sending the town into a frenzy. So it really is like something that unfortunately lives on, but is used, as I mentioned before, in many ways in contemporary literature and film as a subplot or a character line. So, yeah.
John Watson writes that some men just want to watch the world burn down.
Yeah, it's true. It is true. It is true. This is Herostratus, the film. This is Helen Mirren, actually, on the right-hand side.
Oh,
it's the
wow.
first film that she's,
how young she looks. I mean, she is.
Know. Yeah, it's true.
I would never have even recognized her if you hadn't said that.
Yeah, I know. I saw it. And she's so beautiful. And then I saw it, I was like, wow, she definitely looks so young. So yeah, this is from 1967. But as I mentioned, it's something that lives on. Yeah. So
Joe says it's a new word for him, her, I think her, and it's a new word for me too. So you taught us something today, Courtney. Very impressive.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, I enjoy so much being invited here, and I thought this was a really interesting story. So I'm glad that, perhaps we'll find it again in one of the stories coming up. But I'm really glad that people connected with it because I thought it was interesting.
Well, we walk away from Mark's Murder Mystery Monday with you, Courtney, smarter. And so thank you for that. And you are always welcome here. So grateful to have you. Yeah,
thank you
absolutely.
So much.
All right.
You and Albert, so nice to have me. I know Mark's not, but he's coming back tomorrow. So,
yeah, he'll be back tomorrow. And hopefully we'll see you next Monday.
Oh, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Courtney.
Bye. Bye.
Mark's Murder Mystery Monday on the Mark Thompson Show.
A hero stratus. So we all learned a little bit of something about that. Before we jump into some news, let's talk about President Biden, who is going to be in the Bay Area today, fundraising, talking about the environment, and talking about a pledge as well.
What?
Yes. He is coming to the Bay Area, of course, raising money for his campaign. There is apparently some type of event that costs $6,600 to attend. I thought that was a little bit interesting, but he is going to be talking about a move to put 600. Oh gosh, now I lost the story and I forget. Large amount of money toward the environment. Yes, 600 million for climate projects in the Bay Area is what this is about. He will be holding some campaign fundraisers today, but he's going to stop in Palo Alto and he's going to talk about climate change, using the Bay Area as a backdrop to do this, talking about the urgency of taking bold climate action and strengthening America's resilience. And so having a backdrop where you're right on the coast, you're talking about sea level changes and what we can do. The president set to tour a coastal wetland to announce more than $600 million for climate adaptation projects through his Investing in America agenda to better protect our nation's power grid from extreme weather events and prepare coastal and Great Lakes communities for climate change impacts like sea level rise, tidal flooding, and storm surge as well. So something pretty important that he is putting money toward. It is the first ever climate resilience regional challenge to do all this to help coastal and Great Lakes communities. It is part of a $2.6 billion in resilience funding for the NOAA included in Inflation Reduction Act as part of the president's Justice 40 initiative. So while he's raising money, he's going to be here doing that, something we can watch for him to do here in the Bay Area. And I think when you have a president who comes to California, talks about what's going on along our coast and the threats that we are facing in the future, and then put some money behind it. I mean, does he need the California vote? No. But it's for other parts of the countries too. And I think that's important, especially when you look at the differences between the candidates and, how they're planning for the future. Do they accept climate change? Do they accept what's happening? Do they know that we need to make some changes before we're in real trouble? Some don't. I would say people on the conservative side, on the GOP side, don't. They're still in denial. They're still trying to help businesses. And I'm all for helping businesses, but we got to take care of our environment. I mean, we're inundated with water. It's going to be worse than last winter. So I'm happy that this is happening. I don't know how you feel, but I'm delighted. Just delighted. Let's talk a little bit about did you see this, Albert? I have video of this. This is a dance, kind of a dance, kind of not the high school graduation ceremony. I think maybe they were a little bit harsh with this young woman who graduated from high school recently in Philadelphia. And I guess the students were all told, if we can bring this video up, Albert, the students were all told, don't cheer, don't have your family yell for you. You won't get your diploma. So she's very clear with her family.
What?
They don't want people to cheer, which I think is that's why you go to the graduation ceremony, right? To cheer on someone. So what this young woman does is she does a little I would say it's an arm swing and a skip. It's a bit of a happy dance that she does on her way to pick up her diploma. She is denied that diploma the day of during this ceremony. Let's watch the video.
Hafsa Abdur Rahman. Jabria Scott.
Lady says nope, and she's going to put that diploma right back in the basket. No.
Hafsa
What?
Abdur Rahman.
Look at him. It's not even really a dance. It's
No,
just
she
a
hit
little
what the young people call the gritty, Kim.
Oh, is that the
That's,
gritty? Okay. Well,
yep,
thank
she
you for
did hit
that.
the gritty, and that's ridiculous. 4 years of work just for some very strict rules at a graduation.
Well, they said because her little gritty elicited some type of response from the crowd. You heard people like make a noise. They put that diploma back in the basket. They did not hand it to her. Now, they gave it to her later on. But I think that really mars the ceremony. When she walked right up and the woman looked at her and said, "Nope, I'm sorry. Your little dance that you did just, made it so we're not giving you your diploma." So back in the basket it goes. This happened to 3 young women. It's a girls' high school, an all-girls high school in Philadelphia. 3 people were denied their diploma. This school means business. The school board has come out and said, okay, this maybe was a little too much, that maybe we should not have done this.
We're going to talk to what you are talking about.
We're going to talk to the administrators. We're going to make sure this doesn't happen again. This woman said she was humiliated and for nothing. She was embarrassed. Her family was embarrassed.
What the hell is going on in the United States of America?
Yeah, people want to know what rule she broke. And there wasn't a no dancing rule. I guess the rule was don't elicit any sound from the audience, perhaps as a way to speed these graduations up. I don't know. But it reminds me almost of it's that Kevin Bacon movie, not Flashdance. Why am I 80? Footloose, where you're not allowed to dance, you're not allowed to listen to music, you're not allowed to why suck the fun out of life? You just sucked all the fun out of this graduation ceremony, embarrassed this poor girl, made it so her family was like, what, is she not getting her diploma? How awful is that? I just seem such a waste. Yeah, that story kind of bummed me out. But again, she did get her diploma in the end. She just didn't get it as she walked across the stage. Vicky says, ridiculous, punishing the poor girl for nothing. Yeah, that's right. Beth says it's a rule arbitrarily set. Where's the limit? Sucking the fun out. Why bother to have a ceremony? It's kind of how I feel. The queen getting a little violent. I don't know if violence, then you really wouldn't have received your diploma even after the ceremony, probably. This is embarrassing, says Spencer. She should have done the dance after she got it. Yeah, what are they going to do? Come take it away from her? Well, she probably didn't even realize that it was a big thing. I know. That really bothered me. Lauren says, my day, pure white dresses, red carnations, no clapping or cheering. They think they're being progressive by allowing pants. Wow, Lauren, your school was really conservative. Alice says, I understand if she twerked, but that dance looked tame. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because it's not an all-girls school, or it's just kind of public mainstream schools, but I've been to graduations recently where, people dance across the stage, pump their arms in joy. It seems like a moment to celebrate, not a moment to be very quiet and solemn. But that's just the way I view graduations, I guess. Lisa says one person didn't get it just for waving at her family. Come on. David did have his high school diploma withheld for being a little too rowdy. They handed me an empty diploma holder during the ceremony. I had to pick up the actual diploma at the dean's office. Oh, no. Oh, Murphy says one kid did a backflip. She's talking about her kid on a large graduation. People still cheered. The band crashed cymbals when the band kids walked for the diploma. We still got through 500 kids, 4 speeches in less than 2 hours. Give these kids a moment to celebrate the finishing of high school. They're going to walk away. They're probably not going to see each other for years, if ever. This is their last moment. I don't get it. Randy says, geez, just walk up to get your diploma, celebrate afterwards. I think that's a little, I mean, okay, but I think that's a little stick in the mud-ish. Give them a moment of, having their celebration when they walk up to get their diploma. Graduation is a celebration of graduation. You can refuse the diploma. That's just ceremonial. You can't actually take their degree or their diploma. It's ignorant. Yeah. The school should be embarrassed. I think they are. I think they've received so much attention from what seems to be such an unfair thing that, again, now the school board is saying, you know what, we're going to look into this and maybe change it. But I can't imagine being that lady that dropped the diploma back into the basket. What a mean person. This happy moment for this young person, and you just took it away. I mean, okay, so that you could infer that I'm a very lax mom, and I'm not. I understand that you have to have rules and that you have to mean what you say and back up what you say. If you're going to give a punishment, you have to stick to it, all these things. And so I on that one hand, I get that, but this is a high school graduation ceremony. These are moments these kids will never get back, and they just took it from her. So yeah, it is just crazy, as a matter of fact. Thank you, Queen. It is just absolutely crazy. Let's do a little bit of news, and that's something that we will do, and then we will get right back into some stories in San Francisco, some things that happened over the weekend, just really not good for tourism, some shootings that happened. We'll talk about it coming up. Also, a pretty big increase in anti-Semitism and what that is causing a synagogue and some synagogues around the country and here in the Bay Area to do. But first, the news on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show, and this report is sponsored by the wonderful people at Tenuta Vineyards. Ooh, the wine flights, so delicious. Tenuta Vineyards, Tenuta in Livermore. This report sponsored by. But first, let's get to some news. A federal judge now ordering former President Trump not to disclose evidence relating to his classified documents case. The order blocks Trump from releasing information from the case with reporters or social media. Think he can do it? I don't know. The order also allows Trump to see evidence collected in the case, including classified documents, but only in the presence of his attorneys. So he's not supposed to disclose evidence, and he's not supposed to release evidence or information from the case with reporters or social media. Let's keep that in mind as we go forward in the coming days. U.S. Coast Guard now doing a search for this missing submersible that was used to take tourists to the wreck of the Titanic. More information this hour. 5 people reportedly on board the submarine. The expedition, run by the U.S.-based company, launched from St. John's, Newfoundland. And again, they are now doing a search and rescue operation because this submarine got into some trouble as it was nearing the wreck of the Titanic in the recent hours. New Jersey Senator Cory Booker wants to create a commission to study the possibility of reparations for African Americans across the country. We're already doing that here in California. There's a commission in San Francisco as well. But the Senator, Cory Booker, spoke at the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice's Juneteenth ceremony. Booker saying the commission would study the impact of slavery and the discrimination African Americans still face today. NATO's Secretary General says Ukraine will not receive a formal invitation to join the alliance at its summit in Lithuania next month. Speaking with the German Chancellor, NATO is saying it is not discussing the issue of Ukraine's membership, but that they are working on it. The leaders in talks about how to move Ukraine closer to NATO. Looks like this one's going to take some time. There is a new push making it easier than ever to get a higher education. California Senator Alex Padilla helping to reintroduce the College for All Act. This is a bill that would allow working class students to attend community college, trade schools, and four-year colleges for free. It applies to those who make up to $125,000 a year or double that if they're from a married household. The Supreme Court's decision is expected later this week on the loan forgiveness program. California is celebrating Juneteenth as a state holiday for the very first time. Marks the end of slavery in 1865. Governor Gavin Newsom proclaiming this as a day of observance. Again, let me say it right. A day of observance, pointing out the struggle for freedom, which continues today. He says the state is committed to confronting the dark chapters of our past to continue moving forward in the pursuit of a more perfect union. Banks, post offices, federal offices, schools, all closed today. Did you hear this story about the Spotify executive really coming down hard on Prince Harry and his wife Meghan Markle? He called them grifters after their podcast partnership ended. Bill Simmons angry about the couple's podcast archetypes ending after they promised to create more podcast series. In the past, Simmons has criticized the prince and admitted that he was embarrassed to share Spotify with him. He questioned Harry's talent and said no one cares about what the prince has to say unless it's about the royal family. Called them grifters because of their large contract. And I think they only turned in 12 podcasts in this series. And I think they were paid, I want to say $20 million. So yeah, I think they were expecting a lot more from the prince and Meghan. They didn't get it. Grifters, that's pretty strong. I'm not sure. This report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards, and you know, here on the Mark Thompson Show, exclusively, you get this discount. All you have to do is check in with Rich at Tenuta Vineyards. You say, smash it with your iron rod, and you get 10% off at Tenuta Winery.
Smash
off everything.
With your iron rod.
Thank you. You will have to use your own voice unless you somehow have taped that. But you call Tenuta. Rich is at 925-699-4576. And you put in your order and you say, smash it with your iron rod, and there you get your 10%. People that have gone to Tenuta Vineyards have emailed and texted me saying what a lovely time they had. The folks at Tenuta are very friendly, very kind, love to talk to you, love to share their wine with you. You can take walks around the property. And truly, their saying is, Tenuta Vineyards, give us 30 minutes and we'll be friends for life. And they really mean it. So thanks to them for sponsoring this newscast. We appreciate you, Tenuta Vineyards. And if you have ordered your Tenuta wine, message me and let me know if you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed the Mark Thompson's Why Are You Yelling Red, which is my new favorite. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Feels great, baby.
Let me kick down the door and talk to my cheap sons and daughters.
No context will suffice to explain the hurt and anguish caused by my words. I apologize to all who have been hurt.
I stand corrected. I misspoke. My words upset so many people.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
God bless America. The end.
There's never been anything like this. Do I hit it long? Is Trump strong? Huh?
Who is having that conversation?
It's fantastic.
That's not fake. That's real.
The science is ridiculous.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear you.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
There is no defense for my conduct. It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Don't ever use that word.
You get nothing.
What's a guilty pleasure to that?
Seriously, what the
I'm Kim McAllister along with Albert here on the Mark Thompson Show. Of course, Mark coming back tomorrow. But I wanted to jump right into this story about what is happening in San Francisco. And we've got some shootings to tell you about, including one that happened over the weekend in the Oakland area. And this one just, my heart absolutely breaks. This 6-year-old boy was hit by several stray bullets. I mean, several stray bullets in Oakland. This happened on Friday night. The boy was with his dad and his 3-year-old little sister, and they were at this quick serve gas station in Oakland at 22nd Ave and East 12th. Apparently, several gunmen tried to shoot another person at the gas station while this family was filling up. They opened fire and they hit the 6-year-old boy by accident, and he's hit several times. The suspects drive away. The boy's dad took him to the hospital immediately. Neither the dad nor the sister were injured, but that little boy at the very wrong place, wrong time, hit by apparently several stray bullets. I think he is recovering and is going to be okay, but what a story. I just, it's so upsetting when you see little kids caught in the crossfire. Meanwhile, and this one is absolutely not good for tourism, over the weekend there was this rolling gun battle. It happened near Pier 39, right? Big tourist area, not where you really want to see the crime happen. I mean, not that you want to see it happen anywhere, but in a city that's struggling, trying to get people to come back. This is a bad look. 2 people arrested in what's being called a rolling gun battle between cars near the Pier 39 area in San Francisco. The city officials say 2 people were taken into custody from the city of Pittsburgh in the East Bay. They were in a black SUV, which is one of the cars involved in the shooting on Sunday. Both of the suspects in the hospital and haven't been formally booked, apparently. A white sedan also believed to be involved. The people inside that car have not yet been nabbed. So that's still outstanding. In all, 6 people, 4 of them just mere bystanders, were injured in this Father's Day shooting at Beach and Stockton streets in the city. This crime scene stretched about a mile long. That's how long they were shooting back and forth at each other. Again, 2 people shot, one of them in the SUV. And 6 people injured in this instance. In addition to the shooting victims, the police chief, Bill Scott, says 3 people were cut by glass shards after gunfire struck the windows of nearby vehicles, and a 10-year-old girl walking her bike across the street with a 16-year-old was hit by one of the cars that was involved. So you've got people shot, people hit and cut by glass. You've got a girl hit by one of the vehicles involved in this rolling gun battle. This girl is expected to be okay. But absolutely a mess. These shooters, according to police, were targeting each other. So it wasn't some type of random opening fire in the tourist area, but still, I mean, crazy. The area, as you can imagine, Pier 39 was packed with people, everybody enjoying Father's Day, the holiday weekend out. And witnesses were upset. One person telling KTVU, we were driving, we thought we heard fireworks. this man didn't want to give his name to KTVU, but they said 2 cars shooting at each other. Then bullets came through the windshield. I yelled at my sister to get on the ground. We jump on the ground. We opened the doors, jumped out the back of the car. He said the ordeal was really scary and his life flashed before his eyes. This is what you deal with. Now, can a shooting like this happen anywhere? Yes. Is it not, only going to be San Francisco or a bigger city where something like this happens? It really could happen in any small town, just like a school shooting or anything else. You don't know where violence is going to break out. But it's just scary. I mean, you have these people that are bystanders that are just going along, minding their business, doing their thing. In one case, a family at the Quick Stop gas station filling up the gas tank, and this little boy hit by several errant bullets at the Quick Stop, which stupid to open fire near a gas station anyway. The 6-year-old boy now hospitalized because of that. Could have lost his life. Lucky to be recovering, right? And then you have these 6 people who are just out enjoying either Father's Day or the Juneteenth weekend at Pier 39 in San Francisco-ish, beach in Stockton, and this happens. Mark mentioned Juneteenth weekend and how people in Chicago were shot as well. If that isn't, the United States of guns, I don't know what is. And these things keep happening and we don't do anything. And it's maddening, absolutely maddening. Speaking of Juneteenth, I don't know if you saw the story that Michelle Obama is hoping people register to vote in honor of Juneteenth today. That's what she's pushing. She says in a tweet, there's no more meaningful way to mark the day celebrating freedom. Former President Obama marking the holiday, celebrating enslaved people being freed in Galveston as well. They're asking people register to vote if you have not already. That's a pretty smart way to celebrate. I haven't seen what you're saying in the comments, but yeah, I don't know how we look at what happened over the weekend with the violence any differently than we need to do something, and registering to vote is maybe the first step in trying to make changes. Yeah. This story, I haven't seen this show, but I've loved shows on the Discovery Channel. Albert, did you ever watch the fishing boat shows on the Discovery Channel, like
Deadliest Catch?
Yeah.
Of course.
Shows like that. So there's this show that I hadn't seen. I guess I'm never going to see it, about the danger of flying planes through the wilderness of Alaska. It was called, I don't know what the show's called. Oh, My Flying Wild Alaska. Discovery Channel's Flying Wild Alaska. It follows this family's small airline business based in Unalakleet, I hope I'm saying that right, in Alaska, for 3 seasons. It started in 2011. And apparently it kind of zoomed in on the danger and all the issues that this family had as they were trying to do drop deliveries to these remote locations in Alaska. Well, the star of the show died in a plane crash. The Bush pilot and former star of the Discovery Channel series documenting his unchartered flights to the Alaskan wilderness died in a plane crash on Friday, along with his passenger. Alaska state troopers say they saw Jim Tweedo taking off in a Cessna 180 with 45-year-old Shane Reynolds of Idaho, but the plane appeared not to be able to climb an elevation, and then witnesses just saw it crash. A satellite device on the aircraft sent troopers an SOS, indicating the plane crashed about 35 miles northeast of a coastal village of Shatuklik. Troopers found the 2 men's bodies at that site. The man's daughter, Ariel Tweedo, sharing news of her dad's death. He was 68 years old. She said, "My dad and a wonderful hunting guide and friend of our family passed away. I didn't think anything could hurt this badly." They did this Flying Wild Alaska. The show was all about the intensity and the dangers of flying a plane in that area. They did airdrops, dropping gear off in mid-flight. I guess they had some kind of dicey situations. And the show was really interesting. I have to go back and see if I can watch it. Apparently they did all kinds of situations where they were dropping supplies off to remote villages and dropping hunters off to certain areas. So, yeah, flying wild Alaska. It really was dangerous, and he has passed away. Did you ever see that show, Albert? No? Okay. Maybe not. Not sure. Another story that I wanted to talk to you about was the story out of San Francisco, and it's a sad, sad situation when you look at the increase in anti-Semitism and what the response to that is having to be. Apparently, the reported incidents of anti-Semitism have risen. Let me give you the stats of this. In 2022, numerous communities apparently saw anti-Jewish flyers distributed. A man fired blank rounds inside a Jewish community center in San Francisco. A group measuring hate crimes like this, they say they counted 166 incidents just here in the Bay Area alone. They call it a 137% increase from the previous year. So what they're doing, they're giving last year 35 active shooter trainings, 1,500 community members and staff at Jewish organizations throughout the Bay Area received shooter trainings, disaster drills. They say demand for such services in the Jewish community is very, very high. Over the last several months, this organization has helped. They say Jewish groups learn about extra measures they can take to keep people safe. So there are organizations forming because they see a need that they'd like to help people. The director of the company is the Security for the Jewish Community Federation and Endowment Fund in San Francisco is what this particular group is. They say spending on such measures has increased bigly. bigly. They think that in 2023, they're going to see more anti-Semitic type of incidents and hate crimes than they have in previous years. That, they say, is one reason why they're expanding operations in Northern California, so they can help bring confidence to people who may feel like they're under threat. They say they want to help people respond when the worst happens. As ordinary citizens, we can minimize harm and ultimately help save lives. But the spending on extra security measures is really on the rise. So I guess these synagogues and people in Jewish organizations are feeling like they have to take matters into their own hands, which is another sad commentary when you talk about shootings, that you don't get the protection that you need because you never know what's going to happen. As Mark would say, another indicator of the United States of guns. How sad is that? There's a company in San Francisco, you may have heard of it, especially if you're kind of a techie. It's called GitHub. And it's this place where software developers, engineers, those type of people can go and they save their code that they write and they can share it if they would like with other people. So everyone can work together on developing things. And it's an interesting company. So they say GitHub, 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 has become an indispensable part of the world of coding. They've been around since 2007, helping people save code, share code, whatnot. Well, something new now at GitHub. They are now developing a reputation for changing the way coding works. Here we go. The catalyst is called Copilot. It is an AI tool that generates code as easily as OpenAI's ChatGPT, they say, writes poetry. So Copilot, this code writing AI software, is powered by OpenAI's Codex. By simply, listen to this, This out of freethink.com. By simply pressing the tab key, a developer using Copilot can finish a line, generate blocks of code, even write entire programs. According to GitHub, more than 10,000 organizations ranging from Coca-Cola to Airbnb have signed up for Copilot's enterprise version, and more than 30,000 employees at Microsoft now regularly code with assistance from AI Copilot. They say sooner or later, 80% of all code written is going to be written by Copilot. It doesn't necessarily mean that the coder, code writer, developer is going to be replaced. So they were talking to GitHub's CEO. His name is Thomas Domke, and they were talking to him about what this means for developers. Does it mean that jobs are changing and that people are going to be losing jobs, as we saw recently with that AI radio situation, right? So he says the systems, understanding the complexity of software, being able to take a really big problem, big challenge, and make it into a small problem, that they'll always need people to do that. He said, we went from punch cards to hundreds of thousands of millions, probably trillions of lines of code. And so he says, we as developers need to be able to manage these large, complex systems that solve large, complex problems. You need to be able to break them down into small building blocks. He said the skills of the developer will be to figure out how small do I have to go until I can leverage AI to synthesize the code for me. At least for the foreseeable future, he says we're going to have to review all that source code, understand what it does, do the security reviews, compliance review. So if you're having a prompt injection where someone tries to inject harmful code into the database, the developer will still be the expert, he says, understanding the code and whether what was synthesized by the AI actually matches the developer's intent. But he says it will probably shift over the next decade as developers and AI learn to work together in this kind of interesting way. How much are we writing ourselves? How much is just synthesized? He says he doesn't know. But he says we are not remotely close to where everything will just be no code development. So I guess developers have their jobs for the next, decade, if the CEO of GitHub is right. But it's kind of interesting how this is already happening. And people are already trying to figure out how exactly to use it and what the human component needs to be when we're talking about AI. Looking at the comments. Eric writes, guess learn code doesn't mean what it used to anymore. Well, I think, though, Eric, the point is you still have to know it and have an intent. So this is just a tool. You could do everything yourself, right? This is to make your job easier. I mean, I see down the road that not being the case, but I don't know. Spencer says 5 years. You think 5 years people lose their jobs? Might be right. Maybe it'll take a lot less time to figure out how to make the tool be the primary in the job. It's interesting though. Wes says $10 a month per user. Oh, you can chat GPT, talking about AI and how you can look at it. It's interesting. My daughter has this summer assignment for honors English. She's going into her freshman year of high school. And it's the first time I've ever seen a teacher say in the instructions, don't try to use chat GPT. Don't try to use AI to help you write this. I will know. Don't do it. So teachers already know that this is a problem and that kids are trying to, to take the easy way out and get the computer to do their work for them. And she's smartened up. So that's something to think about with that. All right, let's talk a little bit about, we're getting close to news, but I'll see if maybe we can talk a little bit about this, a little bit more about this submarine that's gone missing. It's a story that I've been following, and it's fascinating. The Coast Guard is now out there. This is Ocean Gate Expeditions is the name of this company. It's a private company. They do charter trips to explore the Titanic wreckage. They take research teams out there a lot. I guess there were 5 people aboard this submersible. At this point, the submersible is in trouble, and the Coast Guard says they are working along with numerous government agencies to aid in the rescue of the crew aboard it. They say our entire focus is on the crew members in the submersible and their families. Ocean Gate Expedition saying we're deeply thankful for the assistance from several government agencies and deep sea companies in our efforts to reestablish contact with this submersible. So it's 900 nautical miles off the coast of Cape Cod, Massachusetts. It was due in after going on a tour to explore the Titanic wreckage, but it didn't come back yesterday as it was supposed to. It's unclear if any tourism passengers were on board or just researchers. They don't know, but they've got this search going on. The Canadian Coast Guard involved, U.S. Coast Guard involved. They've got a P-8 Poseidon aircraft with underwater detection capabilities trying to find this submersible. Of course, the Titanic is considered the most famous shipwreck, so a lot of people want to go out there and look at it. That is where 1,500 people died. I can understand the fascination with wanting to go out there and look at it, but how scary would that be to have an underwater emergency like that? They offer, Ocean Gate, a 10-day trip with 18 dives off of a larger boat right around the Titanic. They do scientific research and observation on these trips along with tourism. The fees that tourism customers pay underwrite the mission. So it could cost you as much as $250,000 to join one of these explorations in order to underwrite the research going on in this area. Maybe sometimes not that much, maybe sometimes that much. I don't know. The science team participates right alongside people that are paying a lot of money to go and do this type of tourism. Scary. We'll keep our eye on the story, and hopefully they find these people and bring everybody to safety. But that's pretty scary. I don't know how long or how much air is aboard this smaller submersible. So, yeah, Coast Guard search is still ongoing. And again, we'll bring you the latest as we get it here on the Mark Thompson Show. But right now, let's do a little bit of news. There you go. I knew it was coming. On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Dangerous weather hitting the Southeast today as well. The National Weather Service says millions of Americans in the South are under severe weather warnings. There's excessive heat warnings, advisories in effect from Texas to Louisiana. State Department officials say they are deeply troubled by the Israeli government's plans for more than 4,000 new housing units in the West Bank. Spokesperson Matthew Miller, in a statement, said the U.S. opposes such unilateral actions that make a two-state solution even more difficult to achieve. Israel's government announcing the changes to the settlement housing process this week, which will make it easier for Israel to increase its settlements on the West Bank. A new poll suggests parents should take their child's stomach pain more seriously. Ever have your kids say, I have a tummy ache? You just don't want to go to school. Well, according to C.S. Mott Children's Hospital, parents do not seek doctor's advice when stomach complaints become regular. Pediatricians say stomach pain can be a sign of important emotional health concerns and that parents should give their child a safe space to express their feelings. Again, the story, Michelle Obama would like people to register to vote in honor of Juneteenth today. The former First Lady saying that there is no more meaningful way to mark the day celebrating freedom than registering to vote. So that is what she is asking everyone to do. There's a study about heavy drinkers. A new study shows heavy drinkers can't exactly hold their liquor. Instead, the University of Chicago study says those with alcohol use disorder, what used to be called alcoholism, do we not call it alcoholism anymore? Tested significantly impaired on typical habits 3 hours after having a drink. A co-author of the study said it's a popular perception that very experienced drinkers can handle their liquor, like two cowboys in a bar in a drinking competition. Yet the senior author says only about 10% of those with alcohol use disorder go into treatment, and that binge drinking is actually on the rise. So, study, well, I don't know, you can call it a study, but Toyota engineers are now working on an electric car with a fake manual transmission. Apparently, we like the noise and the feeling of the engine. The engineers say the transmission will serve no purpose. Yeah, nothing. There's no reason. It would just be for people who like shifting gears for fun. What? Why? The driver will be able to experience the shake and buck feeling if they select the wrong gear. Engineers say the car's computer will limit how far the shaking will go to avoid damage on the battery. Toyota hasn't announced when the fake shifting electric car will be sold, but I guess they're going to sell it somewhere. So I don't know. Interesting. And I don't know, if you missed this, then you're out of luck. The 13th World Naked Bike Ride returned to Wisconsin on Saturday. It's an annual event in Madison meant to promote body positive image and independence from fossil fuels. Organizers say the theme of the ride was bare as you dare, and most riders were completely nude, the exception of shoes and bike helmets. So naked except for your shoes and your bike helmets. Were you there, Albert?
Safety first, Kim. That's what I like to say. Safety first.
Well, yeah, you could fall. Imagine that road rash. Oh, not pretty at all. All right, let's talk a little bit about auctions. That's coming up next. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
I misspoke.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Why are you yelling?
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
They pay me a lot of money for having attitude.
There's never been anything like this.
We've never seen anything like it before.
Nobody has ever put something like this together that I've ever seen.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
There is nothing in our history that quite compares to this.
I think I'm the most honest human being, perhaps, that God ever created.
God bless America. The end.
Someone did this to spoil our Christmas.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Sayonara, sucker!
You know what, pal? You created havoc and chaos.
I don't think you should apologize for how you feel.
Do I hit it long? Is Trump strong? Huh?
Who is having that conversation?
It is the Mark Thompson Show, and I spotted, Albert, a couple of things for auction that I thought you might be interested in. All right. So first, let us talk about Tom Petty. And I guess this one could kind of be a law and disorder, but kind of fits into auctions as well. I guess Tom Petty had a bunch of items stolen and put up on the auction block. His family found out, and they have called the auction house and said, no, that's not right. All this stuff was in a storage unit in Los Angeles. And now that it's all up for auction, someone raided the storage facility, and they were put up for auction. So TMZ says it's Tom Petty's jackets, shoes, hats, and clothes, and it was all put up, all of his stuff, in an RR auction lot last month. But the family called the auction house saying, you can't do that. It's all been stolen. A third party consigned all of this stuff to be auctioned off starting June 22nd. They say the gear is from Tom's former home in Encino, California. Now they're pulling this auction. They are aggressively investigating the situation. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. But another auction story that caught my mind was, I guess, before Beyonce and Jay-Z paid cash for their $200 million mansion in Southern California, they rented a mansion. And the owner of that mansion now is renovating everything. In doing so, they have pulled the bidet and some of the doors and fixtures from this home. And so the auction is kind of being, it's being advertised as, if you would like to use the same bidet that Beyonce used, here's your chance. You can buy this used toilet if you want to have the same toilet that Beyonce had. I guess that's when, not that she didn't know she was famous, but that's when you've achieved this level of fame where people want to buy your used toilet. I don't know. Doors, the bidet, all being sold on eBay. Eric's Architectural Salvage LA, all putting up this stuff from the former rental home of Beyonce and Jay-Z. The bidet has an asking price of $2,400. They have sconces, exterior lights, a metal arched door frame, all from the Beyonce Jay-Z rental home. They had signed a 1-year lease for this house. So they only lived there a brief time. And you probably think they're, flitting back and forth between all their fancy houses during that time as well. But yeah, so all these items now up on the auction block.
Cool, but in the same way, it's very weird. I got Beyonce's bidet, but yeah, it's just weird.
This auction, I think, is really interesting. Someone collected old passport photos of celebrities, and they're in this red kind of homemade photo album where the corners things, the stick-em corner things that you place into old photo albums, they're held into place by those little corner tabs. So this was someone's love, and they spent their life creating it. Well, it's up for auction. It is an album of passport photographs, most of them from the 50s and 60s. Some of them have writing on them, like you can see Marlon Brando. They say lover boy, they drew hearts. Others don't. So Eleanor Roosevelt, there's all kinds of stars from the old time, Judy Garland in there. Just so interesting. So that's up for auction. I don't know where they found it or how this person amassed all of these former passport photos, but I guess there's a market for that. Yeah. All right, let's do a little bit of That's Rich since we're talking about celebrities.
Who are they?
The top 1/10 of 1%.
What are they like?
These people are so posh and snobby, they're snotty.
That's Rich on the Mark Thompson Show.
This is That's Rich, and let's start with Rod Stewart, Albert. The British rocker is selling an estate. It's kind of a chateau in Los Angeles, 33,000 square feet. The real estate agent says it is for buyers looking for a return to maximalism. Maybe you went to minimalism, you had your tiny house, you're done with that. Time to get back into the whole maximalism thing, as one does. They want $70 million for this Los Angeles chateau, and it's beautiful. Really, really pretty. It's a European-style compound in gated North Beverly Park. It's got a soccer field. It's got a pool. It was originally purchased, this 3-acre property, for $12.8 million in 1991. Now they want $70 million for this home. An architect designed it specifically for Rod Stewart in the 90s. It has patterned marble floors, elaborate wood paneling, crystal chandeliers, as it would, intricate moldings as well. It's 9 bedrooms in the main house, a long private driveway, a classic fountain, a grand foyer, marble floors, Corinthian columns, ornate mirrors. Return to maximalism is right. It's filled with art like statues, paintings, and busts, but those are not included. You're going to have to buy your own bust. I'm sorry. It just doesn't come with that. Look at that. The chandelier really, I have to say, Albert, the chandelier makes the room. It's pretty.
It does.
Oh, you were cut off. I didn't hear you, but the molding is beautiful. I could live there. I could see myself doing it. The great room on the main floor, I think that looks like maybe this is the great room. It's got a bar, a fireplace, French doors leading to a covered area overlooking the manicured grounds. There's a raised platform for the grand piano. Oh, look at the dining room. A wood paneled library decorated with animal print chairs, heavy upholstery, and a chandelier. Formal dining room we just saw has space to seat up to 20 people. There's also a speakeasy with jade colored wood paneling, a primary suite with a sitting room, a fireplace, access to a large terrace overlooking the pool. And the large closets were built for Stewart's extensive shoe collection, so you'll have plenty of space there. Boots, loafers, sneakers, they'll all fit. That's right. Look at all those shoes. Whatever you got to bring with your shoe collection, there's room for it. They've got a 3-story guest house, 2 gyms. Of course, the soccer field we mentioned. There's the soccer field. They don't know why that Stewart is selling this property, but somebody they hope will purchase it looking for something different that stands out. So it does stand out. That's pretty good.
I like these comments in this section. I think Joe said there's too much furniture. I kind of agree. It was really busy.
It's a maximalist thing. Okay, we're not doing minimalist here, you guys. Put as much stuff in there as you can. We're cramming it in. 33,000 square feet. You'd think that'd be enough space for all the stuff that you could ever want. $70 million and it's yours. I'll tell you. Meanwhile, another celebrity is offloading her home. This is Mariah Carey, and she has a house in Atlanta. She paid more for it than she's selling it for in this case, though. Let's see. This is a colonial style house built in the 90s, only 12,600 square feet. So it's really kind of a little dwarf compared to Rod Stewart's.
Yeah, so it barely fits like 2 rooms worth of furniture from Rod Stewart.
You could not bring all your shoes. You'd have to leave some home. 9 bedrooms, though. Crown moldings, millwork, arched doorways, a small recording booth even. That's nice. The primary bedroom has a pink walled dressing room with a makeup mirror and a salon chair. You know, for when you have your hairstylist and your makeup artist over to get ready for a gala or a red carpet, you need to have that there. They've got a pool, they've got a tennis court. So, pretty nice. This home is selling for about 1.3 million less than what Mariah Carey paid for it in 2021. It's on 4 acres and it is $4.3 million. So it looks like she found a buyer, but she's taking a little bit of a hit there. 4.3 mil. That's kind of a lot. I mean, that's, you look at a house like that for 4.3 million. Those are definitely not California prices. And this home's in Atlanta. So yeah, that's a pretty nice one though. 4 acres, all that stuff, the salon chair, really? Finally, what is they call him? J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have closed on their multi-million dollar, $61 million LA mega mansion. This place, this one is a little too industrial for my liking. You show the picture of that from the pool. Yeah, look at that. We've talked about this one before, but it's a little too industrial looking, I think. They went on this house hunting spree. They finally have closed on this property for $61 million, which means they can get the keys. They can move on in to this big old mansion in Wallingford Estates, which is a gated community also in the Beverly Hills area. 5 acres, 38,000 square feet, 12 bedrooms in this one. So they can have lots of guests stay over. 24 bathrooms. I don't know. You know what I think about when I think of 24 bathrooms? Somebody has to clean them all 24 of them. A 12-car garage, a pool, a sports complex with a basketball and pickleball facility, a gym, a boxing ring. The list goes on and on. It was first listed for $135 million in 2018. They cut the price to $75 million. And again, now it's been purchased by Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez for $61 million, and they finally closed on that sale. So there you go. It's all official.
That's a nice looking house, though. Look at this. This is beautiful.
It is pretty nice.
But
although,
it's like clothes, Kim. You could own like a whole bunch of clothes. Your closet's huge, but we'll still wear the same like 4 outfits forever. So I'm sure like they'll use like 2 rooms and the same bathrooms, and I don't know. The couch setup looks very like an awkward Thanksgiving dinner right here, or like just a very random hangout.
I mean, what are you going to do with all that money? You might as well just buy this opulent, massive place, unless you're going to donate your money to charity, right? I mean, I guess people expect this of them, or perhaps they need a place in a gated community because of security reasons. Yeah, it does seem like an awful lot of space, though. I don't know. I guess I would not be a good mansion owner.
I don't think. Yeah, me neither. Maybe we just can't wrap our heads around it yet, Kim. Let's just wait for this Mark Thompson show thing to work out, and then we'll figure it out later.
I like it. Let's go to Billy Joel. He is moving out of his mansion on Long Island. This is a pretty one, right on the water. $49 million. It's a 26-acre waterfront estate. He says he and his wife are just spending more time in Florida, so they don't really need this big old place on Long Island. Billy Joel's waterfront estate on the north shore of Long Island is coming onto the market for $49 million. Now, he paid $22.5 for it for the first 14 acres of this Oyster Bay, New York estate in 2002. Then he acquired, as celebrities do, the adjacent parcels of land, restoring the original state that was broken up in the 1950s. So now it's all back together again. It has a name, this estate. It's called Middlesea. That's very romantic. The property was briefly listed for sale in 2006. He tried to get $37.5 million for it then. It's so pretty. Look at that. But was taken off the market soon after. And now apparently he's looking to sell because he and his wife, Alexis, with whom he shares 2 young children, are just spending more time in Florida. It's on Center Island, which is a small island 40 miles east of Midtown Manhattan, close to his hometown, pardon me, of Hicksville, which is also in Oyster Bay. The centerpiece of the estate, the 20,000 square foot mansion. It's got a floating dock. It's got a beach house. It's got guest rooms, got a gatehouse, 2 outdoor pools, even a helipad. You can fly in, Albert. You know, if you don't want to drive in, you fly right into the island, land on the helipad, you're good to go. This is rich. This is really rich. There's a 5-bedroom main house that's under renovation. It has covered porches, brick columns, archways, a 2-story entry hall with black and white marble tiled floors. They've got a playroom, a room designed to be a spa and hair salon, again, because you need to be red carpet ready. A bowling alley, a wine cellar. Apparently, Mr. Joel, they say, covered up an indoor pool so that he could use the space with excellent acoustics as a music room. So the indoor pool is gone.
What?
But yeah, sorry. My bad. I'm sorry. But you can still play your guitar or your piano in there, which is awesome. They have not, though, renovated the kitchen because they think someone that buys this property would probably want to do that on their own. Look at that helipad right on the water. Can you imagine, coming in from a concert late in the evening, setting it down on the helipad, walking into the big mansion, the helipad right by the pool. So there was
There's never been anything like this.
It was a company that purchased this estate for Mr. Joel. Apparently, you don't buy it yourself when you're a celebrity. You have a company buy it with your name attached. I don't know. They bought it for $22 million in 2015. I don't know. Middle C would be the most expensive home sale in Oyster Bay. The next priciest is $8.5 million, according to Zillow. So that's a pretty penny. $45 million Long Island mansion. Pretty good. Oh, if only. I guess lottery dreams, right? And this is That's Rich.
More on how the other half lives.
These people aren't just rich, they're crazy rich.
Next time on The Mark Thompson Show.
It is time to say thank you to those who have contributed to the show. We are ever so grateful for you helping us crowdfund this show, helping us keep it going. Mark, Albert, Tony, myself, working hard to bring you the show and kind of keep this radio show now going on YouTube and on podcasts as well. So let me say a massive thank you to Beth Farmer, who is consistently stepping up to help us fund this show. Beth, you're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you indeed. Thank you for the $20.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment about Courtney and your kindness to her as well. We love when she is on the show. The super stickers are live, and even after the show ends, if you're watching in replay, you can still kick in if you're so inclined. And of course, it's a perfect time for me to mention that you can go to our website. It is themarkthompsonshow.com. You've got there the Patreon link, you've got the PayPal link, you've got all kinds of ways to contribute. Even the Mark's merch site link is on there as well. So check out the website, themarkthompsonshow.com. And again, thank you for all the ways that you contribute and that you are part of this show as well. For right now, though, I think perhaps we might have a little message from our fearless leader. Maybe. It's possible. Is he coming back? I don't know. He might not.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yes, I can't believe I'm back just in time to say goodbye. It hardly seems fair. But I think we've learned a lot about each other today. I think we've learned that some good things can happen when I'm not around. Yeah. When I've left the show in the competent and loving hands of someone like Albert.
Albert, thank you.
Good things can happen. Kim has more than carried her weight. Courtney came through. So much cool stuff happened today. So tomorrow, David K. Johnston is back. We'll talk about a lot of things that have to do with Trump and the likely other shoe that will drop. And lastly, the huge prediction that David K. Johnston made that has come to pass. So that's tomorrow.
I'm Shadow Stevens for The Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Until tomorrow, everyone, thank you for supporting us.
Bye-bye.
All the ways you do. Bye-bye.